Happy Mother's Day to all of my friends. I'm so proud of you, especially those of you who went to school with me, and I've seen some of your pictures on Facebook this weekend. We're at that point where our children are graduating from college this year. Angela, Ingrid, all of you, Cheryl, I'm so proud of you. You have been excellent mothers. And so today, on Happy Mother's Day, I was in church. I heard a wonderful sermon about others to mothers, mothers to others. And that's that other part of who we are and what we do. My dad would always say things about how we just go all out for our mother on Mother's Day and we just forget about dads on Father's Day. And I often thought that's a little weird too, but considering all the single mothers that we have, we don't want to put any single mothers down. But when I think about the Christian family, as this is Christian Facebook time, I think about Genesis 2:24, where it says, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." And if they become one flesh, then who are we celebrating on Mother's Day? And who are we celebrating on Father's Day when the flesh is one flesh? So shouldn't that just be the day, the flesh day that we celebrate? So I'm going somewhere with this. So last night, yesterday, I joined this USTA tennis league group earlier, late this summer. They needed another player and blah, blah, blah. Talk about a commitment, way more than I anticipated. For years, I've been banging on the wall. I just love to hit hard on the wall because it's great exercise, keeps your waistline down. And then I serve out a few baskets of balls. But when you're serving baskets of balls, if you're serving 100 balls, then if 75 go in, you're like at 75%. But if you're in a match and you only get a chance to serve 8 times, and if it's one of those 8 of the 25 that you didn't make, you're like double fault. So it's just such an adjustment thing to get into the habit of playing matches versus the single thing, where you're not even the single matches versus double matches, but the hitting on the wall by yourself. And so this whole thing, and a lot of people all the people that have seen me hit on the wall or serve out baskets are always like, you need to join the USTA. So the first match when I literally got my butt beat, everybody was like shocked and they're like, you just need more match play. It's like nothing else. They didn't care about how I played, why this happened or that happened. They were just like, oh, you just simply need more match play, because the match play is the actual getting into the match under the circumstances when you're actually playing with someone, hitting with someone. And that's the marriage thing. It's one thing to date someone forever, know them, know their ways, but when you start living with someone, it's a whole different thing. And Jesus wanted the marriage to be the ideal marriage. And it's interesting because whenever I think about my mom, whenever I think about when people compliment me, I just say, it has nothing to do with me. All of that obviously is about what God does inside of me, but it has everything to do with my upbringing. When people talk about me being disciplined or they find out I'm in the military, they'll say, oh, I can tell. I wasn't in the military that long. It was my upbringing that prepared me to do the military at the late age in which I went into the military and not have any problems adjusting to the disciplinary roles that we had to be a part of. But when I think about the dedication, the commitment to doing what I do, to complete things, to have a goal, to do things in a proper manner, to be kind, and just the whole 9 yards. I think about my mother, but I can never think about giving credit to my mother without giving credit to my father. So it was my mother's who she was because of my dad. My dad is who he was because of my mom, and I can so clearly see that now as my mother has gone on to glory and my father is still here. The man of steel, the man that was just up on the high pedestal, is almost just like a lost child without my mother. But thanks be to God that God left him. He still has God. So, and that is the thing. As a matter of fact, last week he was really, really, I think he had either a stomach virus or food poisoning. And man, he was in a lot of pain. And just like myself, won't go to the hospital. But while I'm saying, Dad, you want me to do this or do this? And we're all concerned because he was becoming a little incoherent at times. He was just praying the whole time, Jesus, help me. Jesus, oh my God, whatever. And I just thought that was good to see and good to learn from. And so on this day that we celebrate mothers, and I know that there are circumstances in which people did get married and the marriage did not work. But I just want to talk about the ideals that God had in place for the ideal marriage, which is also what I believe God has in place for the ideal Christian, for the ideal life. Because as we move through life, as the pastor talked today about being mothers to others, I think we all have a role as we become the children of God to be that person in someone else's life that exemplifies the parental role that our parents are to have for us. And that role is one of what makes the ideal marriage in terms of Jesus reiterating this in Matthew 16, when in that chapter they were pretty much focused on divorce, but it brings you back to him quoting Genesis 2:24. So when we talk about the ideal marriage, we talk about one, there has to be a dedication and consecration of the husband to the wife and the wife to the husband. And as we move through life, there has to be us dedicating ourselves to whatever it is, whether it's home ownership, whether it's the employee or employer, just the neighbor. I mean, it just goes on and on. When you think at this time where we've lost our grounding, so much criticism is given to the President of the United States today. But we find that whenever it gets to a point where the political structure fails, it's on the heels of us failing morally, when we've taken away all moral standards. And we've done that. The last 5-10 years, we saw it coming. I mean, the reality TV shows, which are very much suggestive of the whole paradigm shift of the political arena today, is we were infatuated with that, absorbed in it, I didn't even know who the Kardashians were, and it was just like you had to go find out, because that's all everybody was talking about, and everybody, people in the church, people out of the church. So when you don't have a differential line anymore of what the Christians are doing and what the non-Christians are doing, then it tells you that we're in trouble here. And so again, we talk about the ideal marriage. So there has to be a dedication and consecration of what we do. So I think I wrote last night on Facebook, my Runners edition issue 3, they don't call it monthly things anymore, issue 3, in case anybody wants to pick it up. Issue 3 of Runner's World came in the mail about a week or so ago, and they're having the Runner World Run Streak. I think they did this in 2017, where they suggested that people run at least 1 mile a day from Thanksgiving until Christmas. And people joined in and they did it, and it was like, wow, it changed their life. It just kind of makes you not think about it. With me, I'm always contemplating my short runs have become 6-mile run days. I don't know when that happened, but I remember running saying, when did my short run days become 6-mile days? So literally they wanted people to run about 39 miles over a 39-day period. It was a minimum of running 1 mile. You can, of course, run as long as you want to. And does 1 mile matter? They were saying, heck yeah, if you dedicate a mile a day, that's a big difference, because even people that are accustomed to running 39 miles or more a week, you take a day off, and then there are also the days where you plan on running, but if you don't feel like running, you just say, you know what, not today. Or if you want to run and it's been raining like cats and dogs for 2 days, you just may decide that you're not going to run, and you'll make it up later on in the week. So it's the dedication to a goal of running, at least that you have to put those sneakers on and run every single day for a specified amount of time. Really does a lot for you mentally. And when they were pumping you up in the article, it's like, this is the real force. This determines what your strength is, so I'm always up for a challenge. And I said that I was going to do it. But this tennis thing, I had tennis elbow at the same time that I'm redoing my garden beds, putting gravel around. So I've been hauling like bags of gravel, bags of mulch, and just it goes on. And then constantly practicing. So there is the knowledge as a naturopathic doctor also that says that, you need to rest your body. When your body gets to a point where it is achy, hurting, then you need to just chill out. And so with that in the back of my mind, and then the piece that says, you can knock out a mile in 7 minutes if you run really fast. It will be over in 7 minutes, and just come back and ice yourself. So all of that's going through my head. But then when we had canceled all the matches for this weekend, I guess because of Mother's Day, I had like this block where I actually don't have to do anything. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to rest. So I got up yesterday with in my head, I'm going to rest. And that lasted a couple of hours, and I decided, you know what, I may as well go ahead and finish this yard. And so then I got caught in the rain. It started pouring down raining, but I just wanted to finish it, so I stayed out in the rain a couple of hours. So I needed to actually get in and take a hot shower. So after I took my shower and I ate something, I was so on my way to bed, and then in the back of my head, it's like, you need to run this mile, or you would have run like 10 days and then you would have stopped. Don't you want to go at least to the 39 days? No. Strangely, they're not starting until Memorial Day. The goal is to run from Memorial Day to the 4th of July. I decided I wanted to run the next day after I read the article because I was so excited about it. So I've already started my little thing. But I wanted to at least go 39 days. So put my shoes on in the pouring down rain. And now it's dark too. It's about 9 o'clock, 9:15. But a mile is so quick. Out the front door or around the corner and back. I just decided I'm going to do this. Put my rain clothes on, put my raincoat. And so when I got to a mile, I said, may as well run another half of a mile for good measure. I was thinking to myself, who does this? When you just totally decided you weren't going to do this. And it really doesn't matter. One thing I can say that I've graduated to in the last few years is that it doesn't matter. I used to be the person that was so anal about never leaving a dirty fork in the thing, never ever leaving my house without making up my bed and making sure that the rooms were clean, the bathrooms and that kind of thing. And so here lately, still kind of there, but it's not like life-threatening or anything. And so as I was running and coming in, I thought, who does this? Who does this is a child of Mildred and Eddie Dallas. Because when we were growing up, it was something that they instilled in us. It just says, when you make a commitment, stick to the commitment. When you do something, do whatever. So that dedication and consecration that they had for one another was reflected also in the things that they taught us. And from a very young age, when you get that as a young age, it's like embedded in you. It's like that, it's your DNA, and so I thought that was cool. And then also, the other part of the ideal marriage is the togetherness. Is that you can't be one flesh and have two opposite personalities functioning at the same time. So yes, you have your personality, they have their personality, but some kind of way they have to be mended together in order to display togetherness when you move. You see it all the time in churches, that couple that is just on point. So it's the togetherness that allows you to do other things in terms of consideration, I believe. It's a togetherness that says this personality or this piece of the flesh wants to do this or that, but it's the consideration that we are one that will allow those decisions to be made without any kind of... You can see it sometimes in marriages. You can see where it's kind of like going with the flow or existing because, or both of us live here, but whatever. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is I didn't see that. I used to tell people all the time, my parents were like two peas in a pod. My dad worked so that my mom didn't have to work, so we could come home and have really, really good meals, and our clothes would be nice and clean and starched, and our house would be nice and clean and all. And I am so grateful. I'm so grateful. But there was a complimentary thing, not that I'm bigger than you because I'm working and bringing home all the bread, but because we're doing this togetherness thing, because I'm considerate of the fact that you have these wonderful motherly skills, and these will help our children become the people that they're going to become, etc., etc. But most importantly, I think when Jesus talked about this, he talks about it in other verses where he says that we must lose ourselves. And losing ourselves, we find ourselves. And then the whole sacrifice comes from completing the thing that God wants us to do. So whether we're being celebrated today as mothers, whether we'll be celebrated next month or in June as fathers, the celebration of being a Christian is what's important. And that looks like the ideal marriage. That looks like the ideal mother on Mother's Day. That looks like the ideal father on Father's Day. And that is the Christ-like love that says, it's not about me, but it's about you. And in this for you, it's not just because I'm doing this because I'm not being paid for it or anything else. Sometimes people volunteer, or they'll help you with something without getting paid or without having their name put on something. But then it's kind of with that air or that attitude that you're not paying me for this, I don't work for you, or da 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 da. And it's saying that in that sacrificial, dedicated, consecrated thing that we do called love, then I am going to do it as I do it to God for you. And I think that's what really matters. And so on this day, we salute all mothers, we salute all fathers, we salute all the people who live to express love, guidance, and concern for others, who care about others. And that's what it really boils down to, your dedication towards others and their well-being, I should say. And all of that matters. And so as I'm doing my yard as well, oh God, I just looked out the back window every day for the last 60 days. I had 2 tractor trailers come and dump skids of gravel and mulch and new dirt. I have flower beds that just the last couple of years, all of the flowers would come out for the squash, but the squash would never come. I had 27 watermelons the summer before, and I moved it to the other bed, which would give it more space, and it just flopped last year. So I was like, I need to go in and retill 2 of the flower beds, put some new hummus in and some new other stuff. And so I had that stuff sitting there, and then as it's gotten wet, it was heavy as all outdoors to move. But I just said, I'm going to do this yesterday so I can get these flowers in the bed in a couple of weeks. And I just, on my day that I was going to rest, that thing that my mom and dad planted inside of me, I don't have to do it. I could have let it sit there all summer and just say, you know what, I'm going to do it next summer. But it's something that, is so wonderful that you can say that the thing that other people admire in you is the thing that your parents gave you. And I believe I spent a lot of time. I was totally just, I'm in retrospect, I'm happy. It wasn't something I had to think about it. It was just an organic thing to always go by and see my parents and spend time with them. Thank God that I was working for myself for the last 15 years. Whenever my mother needed anything, she could call me, because to her, it was just like I wasn't working, which was fine with me because it allowed me to spend the whole lot of time with her and just love on her while she was here every day and do whatever she needed me to do. And so on days like this, I'm not saddened. I am just, there are too many wonderful memories to just say, love me some mommy. And so, and the knowledge of knowing that she had a good life and that she faced her end of life with such courage. I'll never forget. She says, I'm not going to go back on that ventilator. If God's going to keep me, he's going to keep me. And if not, I'm going on to glory. And so be it. And so we love our mommy and we love our daddy, and we just pray for my father. And, he misses my mommy so much. So for all of you, happy Mother's Day, and relish in the memories, those of you who have your mothers, and love on them, because it will not be forever. One thing I also had to help me was the ministry at the nursing home. I have sat with literally hundreds of people as they've transitioned, and I've been to way too many funerals. I went to a funeral last week. And same thing, where the father was just a very loving person, so good to everybody. When everybody in the church speaks about your humility and your willingness to serve and how much you did for others, that's just such a life well lived. And that's what's important. So whether it's your children that are giving tributes and reflections to you at your homegoing service, or the deacons, or the people in the nursing homes, just so many people to be able to speak well of you is about testimony to doing what God expects us to do. And that's love. And whether your mother or father today, or just somebody that's serving others, we salute you. Amen. Amen. I'm going to get something to eat. I'm starving.